Hi everyone and welcome to the Black Book Today. My name's Sam McKee.
And I'm Bob Hayden.
And we thank you for joining us. The world of harness racing has so many great storylines and so many great personalities. And Bob, you've talked to several of them.
That's right. We're going to take you inside the world of harness racing, inside this very complex here, as the entire harness racing universe is here the first week of November at Harrisburg. We're going to find out who the major players are and who's hot and who's not.
Enjoy this edition of the Black Book Today.
In an attempt to lure some trainers and drivers and breeders and owners, we put out a brunch buffet, and it worked. Join us now for some interviews we call Breakfast with Bob here at Harrisburg. We're joined by Mike Kimmelman from Blue Chip Farms. And Mike, I've heard a lot of buzz in this sale, a lot, about Art Major. Tell us about how you're sitting right now, how you feel about it, and how do you do so far this year in the sales?
So far, we've done great. We thought the horse would be received well. He makes a big, long-legged, gorgeous-looking horse. He's a big, good-looking horse himself. First crop, you're usually selling, out of a mare pool that's tremendous. You got a great book of mares, and between them and between as great a horse as he was, we were optimistic, and they've been very well received.
And also, in the past month, Art's Place and Astraeos both passed away. So it's even more incredible that the Art Majors, after the spectacular career he had, maybe even more in demand.
Well, certainly that, the future may hold more of a demand that way for other sons of Art's Place. Of course, that doesn't really affect the numbers that are out there right now. It will when we go to breed them next year on the opportunities to go to that line. But right now, any of the foals that were created by those sires previously would still be in the pool.
Now, last year, if I had to rate Bettor's Delight, I probably would have given him one of these. This year, I give him a couple of these. What happened last year to this year at Bettor's Delight?
Well, I think opportunity certainly happened, and of course there was another crop of horses racing. And I think traditionally, Credit Winner got off to kind of a slow start also. A lot of our people do participate in the New York program, which is doing nothing but getting stronger and stronger. And a lot of those horses last year, after they raced in New York, the harnesses were pulled and they went home for the winter. And I think people were a little more aggressive about getting their feet in the water and trying them on the Grand Circuit, and were very much rewarded for that.
There was, I think, early on, maybe a thought that Credit Winner was a New York stallion. He quickly proved he was a Grand Circuit national stallion. Any surprise to you there?
Yes. Initially, we purchased him to fill a niche in New York. And I would say that to be as competitive on the level he is with the mares he was originally bred to, it was a good surprise. But when we started, messing with them, prepping them for the sale, and watching them race for horses of size, they were great gaited horses with good attitudes. So once we got them started racing, and of course we had a pretty good filly ourselves the first year, who ended up racing in the Oaks.
Joined by Jeff Stein from Preferred Equine Marketing. And Jeff, tell us a little bit about the buyer here. Now, does the buyer tell you what's hot? You tell him what's hot? How does that work?
Well, I think it's a combination. The buyers today, they're very sophisticated. They come to a sale, they've done their homework, they know what they want, they know what they're looking for. I think what we try to do and what they look to us to do is to tell them something that maybe they don't know, or maybe that's not apparent on the page.
There seems to be a lot of interest in the first crop stallions.
Yeah, I think there's always been a strong demand for first crop sires. I think even more so now, particularly when you look at a horse like Art Major with the New York program and the slot machines. I think that really, that's what people really are looking for now. They're very strong with New York, and people they're gravitating towards Pennsylvania. So it's a big advantage for, any stallion, not only first crop stallions in those programs.
But we asked several trainers during the week, are stallions allowed to have a bad season, or do they get kind of dropped off the map a little bit?
Well, it doesn't seem like they're allowed to have a bad season. There are a lot of people like the unproven, as crazy as it sounds. And basically, it's a business where if you're not producing at the moment, they forget about you, regardless of how great a sire you are. I mean, even a stallion as great as Art's Place, there have been seasons where he hasn't had a typical year, and his crop has suffered. So if it could happen to Art's place, it happens to everybody.
We're joined by Dr. Bridget Yablonsky from Hanover Shoe Farms, and she's got a different perspective than most on yearlings. She's working with these yearlings before they went to the sales ring. What happens the 4, 5, 6 days prior to when they walk into the sales ring? How traumatic is that?
Well, it's very stressful on the people, more so than the horses, because they don't know what's coming. Most of your prep work is done by then. So basically we're just putting the finishing touches on them, reclipping them, resetting their shoes. And we're generally very busy in those days, right before. We have a lot of customers come to the farm and look at them.
Last year and this year, Andover Hall's been extremely high. He's had an unbelievable season, first crop sire. Most people see his yearlings. You actually deal with Andover Hall himself. What kind of horse is he to deal with?
He's a magnificent horse. He's a great horse. He's high energy, aggressive without really being mean. He's a good breeder. I mean, he's the kind of horse that you'd love to have 10 of.
And of course, at that level, you want to make sure that fertility is not much of an issue. It's not an issue here, is it?
It's not an issue with him. He has excellent fertility. Like I said, he's a good breeder, and if we had a barn full of Andovers, I'd be happy.
And this year, Western Hanover went past $100 million, a 7th pacing stallion to do that, the 8th overall. What's the difference between dealing with Western Hanover when you first started 7, 8 years ago at Hanover and today?
None. He's the same horse. He shows no signs of slowing down or aging. Biggest problem with Western is he's too fat. We try to keep the weight off of him and we can't, but he's ageless. The horse is ageless.
And health-wise, he's fine too, because I mentioned that because Art's Place just passed away, and of course you never want to hear that news, but it does happen. Western Hanover, health-wise, is?
Excellent. He's excellent. You know, knock wood, cross fingers. Like I said, I wish he was a little bit skinnier, but he doesn't eat much. It's just hard to keep the weight off. But he really, you would never guess his age.
And another Breeders' Crown has gone to a son of Cam's Card Shark. Shark Gesture just won a Breeders' Crown. Cam's Card Shark just seems like a lot of them get better. He's got so many good horses. And I did an interesting stat. His richest 12 horses were all male horses. They just keep on coming and fighting and making money.
Yes, he's certainly having another good year. Fastest racehorse of all time, Holborn Hanover, Shark Gesture. He's a workhorse, Cam's Card Shark. He's very dependable. You can count on him every year.
When you see horses early on, can you yourself tell? I remember you went something like Red River Hanover. Some horses have a little something that separates themselves from the others. Can you tell if maybe this guy's got a better chance of making it than someone else?
I certainly have my favorites. Sometimes I'm proven right. I love Donato Hanover, and sometimes I'm proven wrong. Sometimes I love a yearling. We sold a Western colt a few years ago that I thought for sure would be a great one, and he's not. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But certainly when you prep 164 yearlings, you have your favorites.
Very happy to be joined by Hall of Famer Ray Remen. In 1976, the Meadowlands opened. 30 years later, the leading trainer in the history of the Meadowlands. Ray, you're at the yearling sale here. What's the first thing Ray Remen looks for in a yearling?
Well, first you look at the catalog and then confirmation, but more importantly right now I think it's the catalog, the pedigrees.
If somebody calls the Larry and Ray Remen stable tomorrow and says, I want to invest $100,000 in a racehorse or a yearling, what do you recommend, Ray? What are you going at?
Well, that's an individual's choice, but if you want to dream the dream, then you buy a yearling. If you want to go to the races once a week, you buy a racehorse. And probably still the safest deal is to buy a racehorse, but I think everybody wants to dream the dream.
Okay, well, he doesn't announce his own bio and resume, but I do. The old-time leading trainer, Meadowlands history, Hall of Famer, Ray Remen. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, joining us now is a guy who has had a sensational season, and that's trainer Steve Elliott. And let's start with your 2-year-old trotting champion, Donato Hanover. You capped off your campaign with a win in the Breeders' Crown. How was he that night?
You know, he was very good. It was a bad night. The wind was 40, 50 miles an hour, and Ronnie was coming pretty good with him around the last turn. And he said Pear kind of drifted out a little bit, and he had to grab him. But when he grabbed him, he threw a step in, and he was fine. He's done it before, but he's just a good horse.
How do you think Donato will transition to his 3-year-old season?
I think he'll be fine. He's never been tired. He's never been hurt. All his races, he was within himself, and I'm looking for a big year next year.
And Burning Point, your champion older pacing mare, is she headed to the broodmare shed, or will we see her on the track again?
Hopefully she'll race again next year. I mean, we got the Classic Series Monday, and then one more leg in the final, and then she's done. and then we'll give her a good rest and bring her back next year to race.
Steve Elliott, sensational 2006 season, more of the same in 07.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've caught up with Mitch Skolnick, one of the prominent owners and breeders in the sport here at Harrisburg. Now, Mitch, are you buying or are you selling
We'll
here
do a
this
little
week?
of both. We'll do a little of both. We look for mares, we look for fillies that are on the racetrack, and an occasional yearling that we think is well bred.
Which aspect of the business do you like the most? The breeding end, the selling the yearlings, or the actual racing
Oh,
horses?
that's an easy question. For my partners and I to be able to own a mare, decide who we breed it to, have a foal, bring that foal along and race it and have it as ours, there's nothing better than that. And people can say what they want. You come to the sales, you buy a nice yearling and you have success, but it's a touch off actually having made the decision who you're going to breed the mare to and raising that foal and having it go to the races. There's no better feeling.
We're with trainer Jimmy Takter, who's a fixture here at Harrisburg, and you're living proof you don't always have to pay a ton of money to get a good horse. Now, case in point, Global Glide, one of the top 3-year-old trotters this year, you bought for only $6,000, yet Pampered Princess, the top 2-year-old trotting filly, was $230,000. What do you look for, confirmation or balance or pedigree?
Well, you know, first of all, they have to have pedigree, otherwise we're not really interested. And then the confirmation, and we look at so many horses. I have a guy that's working for me that look at horses, and we basically look at every single horse in the sale. So, you know, in a case like Global Glide, he sold in the Meadlands and was basically no customers there. So, I mean, if he would have sold in a sale like this, he would probably cost in the range of 30,000-40,000. But the price really doesn't matter. If I like the horse, I buy him, and if if it's 6,000 or 200,000, it's kind of irrelevant.
Most of us in the media felt that Passionate Glide was probably a shoe-in for Horse of the Year. Do you still think she deserves that award?
Well, if we look at the poll, they had a poll over 2,400 voters, and I think it was 52% voted for her still. 52, 48% think somebody else, and if they spread them out, it's a very good poll. She's a very dominated. She's definitely the most dominated horse in her class, and in 3-year colts you have both Majestic Sun and Glide Master, and every class and pacing colts is the same, and she's definitely the most dominant in her class.
And Passionate Glide, to overcome what she did this summer with that pulled muscle before the Hambletonian Oaks, she trotted through adversity there.
Well, that's what makes her very unique. I've been in this game all my life, and I've never seen a horse pull through and do what she did in this 3 weeks period. I don't think I ever had a horse that could do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's the leading candidate for Trainer of the Year. Another super season for Jimmy Takter. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Hello everyone, I'm Harold Howe from the Harness Edge, and I've got a contingent of Canadians with us today as we're nearing the end of the opening session of the Black Book. I have Mark Stacey of very notable training fame. I have Tammy McNiven from Twinbrook Farm and Clay Horner, one of our leading owners in our country. Anyway, we're just going to have a bit of a chat here about the sale, and Mark, you've looked at a lot of horses yesterday and today. How do you feel this year's crop of yearlings compares with what you've seen other years? And I guess, what do you think of the prices that we're seeing?
I think definitely every year it gets a little more expensive. The crop of yearlings overall, I think it's very good. The breed's getting better all the time. I think today it's very hard to look for a value. I think a good horse sells good. Probably in the next couple of days you'll probably see more value there.
Now, I've heard a few people say, though, notwithstanding what we're seeing for pricing, it is very difficult to get you fellows to push a horse through $100,000. Now, you did pay $100,000 for one today.
Yeah, I paid $100,000 probably because I had the half-sister before, but to me I thought she was probably my pick of the sale anyways. Usually I wouldn't spend that much money. You got to figure the future a breakout point where you can, a break-even point and a resale point even, but because mine's a filly too, I think she has broodmare value. So because of that, I stretched it a little bit.
Now, Clay, you're coming off a career year in 20 years or more of owning horses. As a purchaser of yearlings, what are your thoughts on finding the type of yearlings that you and your brother Scott tend to go after? And I guess, what do you think of the strength of the sale to this point?
Well, Harold, we're great believers in going with what you know, which is what Mark just spoke about. We have a couple of families that we really like and have had good fortune with, and it helps because you actually know what shortcomings other yearlings out of the family have overcome. You're in a position to compare one versus another. And so, frankly, our philosophy is generally to stick with our families, and then each year to probably try, one or two from a family that we haven't had previously, but that we like or are intrigued by or have been impressed by watching brothers and sisters race.
Why does Harrisburg seem to have so much appeal to yearling buyers, including, I know it's a favorite haunt of your own?
Yeah, well, it's absolutely our favorite sale. I think that there is greater variety here. There's greater depth. I think there's greater diversity in terms of the families than you get at any of the other sales. I mean, there's just not any doubt that if you come to this sale, you'll be able to find something that fits your pedigree style, your pocketbook, your jurisdiction that you're looking for. And to be honest, this year, not that we haven't in the past, we've gone to Kentucky and we've bought horses in Kentucky, we buy horses in Canada. The truth is, any of the yearlings we're buying this year, we're buying at Harrisburg.
Now, coming to you, Tammy, what are you seeing about this year's sale? And is there any message at this point people should take from the results?
I think it's a positive sale. Everybody's happy coming into the sale. The outlook for Pennsylvania and New York is unbelievable. We saw the same structure in Ontario 8-9 years ago. Everybody wanted an Ontario-sired horse. Now everybody wants a Pennsylvania or a New York eligible. The sky's the limit to them. They just think they can go out and make a lot of money in a short time, and they can. And you're reflecting that in the prices. Like, Mark has to pay a lot of money for horses, as well as Clay, and they'll get paid off in the long run.
Will this, we're only coming to the end of day one, but at this stage, are the results looking like they're going to influence your breeding decisions in the new year?
Yes, definitely. It only has to. Every year when the sales are done, we have to reevaluate our business strategy for the next year, and sales results always have a factor in it.
And at this stage, are you thinking you may be breeding more Pennsylvania and New York oriented than maybe you were thinking 2 months ago?
Yes, we own a couple shares in stallions in New York, and we'll probably go back to Pennsylvania as well. We have a great broodmare band that definitely warrants selling and breeding to those horses.
That gives us a fair perspective of the Canadian view of things, from breeding, training, and buying. So thank you very much, folks, and good luck with the rest of the sale.
Thanks, Harold.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I'm joined by Hall of Famer Ron Gerfine, who just won another Breeders' Crown, Possess the Magic, handing Pampered Princess her first loss. It's a pretty exciting race there, and she went out and earned it, didn't she?
Yeah, it was a wonderful race. I was thrilled the way she got past to the top of the lane and came back.
Pretty good duel we had there, isn't it, between those two?
It was a good duel then. I don't know about tomorrow.
What about maybe a rivalry next year as 3-year-olds, you think, maybe?
Well, let me tell you something. When you have a 2-year-old as good as Pampered Princess or Possess the Magic, you just pray they come back in one piece.
Good sires can come from a lot of places because there are a lot of different places they can be bred, but the importance of the dam, how important is it for you when you're looking at the catalog page?
About 99%. There are certain sires that I just won't buy, the names of which I will not release to you because it's really not fair.
Oh.
But almost any sire could have a good horse. I don't think you could eliminate the worst sires could have a good horse. It's the great mares that seem to continuously have great horses.
I talked to Jerry Silverman about when something works, like with Grand Lady and Glowing Report, you go back to it. What about you? Something clicks, do you go back that same way?
Well, I'd sure like to buy the Conway horse sister, the Pampered Princess, although she's probably about $300,000 too expensive for me, but that niche seems to work pretty well, so, it's worked with 2 different sires, and I think that this is a very, very special filly, that filly.
From 1975 to 90, 1990 to 2005, 2006, is Ron Gerfine a much better trainer, or do people notice you more than they did then?
Oh, I'm a much better trainer. I think that every day you spend in this business, you learn. I mean, you know, people come and ask me questions all the time, and I say, you know, I still learn every day. I mean, there are certain things that you've never seen before. That I've trained horses for 45 years, and I know tomorrow I'll see something that I never saw before again.
But you're now in the Hall of Fame, so that means that you still have things you haven't seen coming your way, you think?
Absolutely.
Are your best days possibly still ahead?
Absolutely, and I think my best days are still ahead.
Okay,
And
Ron,
I said it in my induction. I said, here I am at the midpoint of my career at 65, and I wasn't lying.
All right, Ron Gerfine, good luck at the Harrisburg sale and continued success in 2006 and 2007.
Thank you kindly.
We're with Jules Siegel of Fashion Farms, who is very excited about the first crop of his undefeated 2-year-old champion, Broadway Hall. Now, they're yearlings this year. What's the response been so far, Jules?
So far, it's been sensational, Sam. Everybody that's bred to him comes back to me. They call Dan at the stallion station, and they tell him how pleased they are with the offspring, and they're just great.
And Jules, your fashion farm located in New Hope, Pennsylvania. A lot of optimism about the slots coming to Pennsylvania.
Oh, we're very excited because every one of the tracks now are putting the slots in. They're opening up this month, and it's just going to be fantastic. Everybody's talking.
One of the most successful owners and breeders in the sport, Jules Siegel. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Sam.